There are moments of existence when time and space are deeper, and the awareness of existence is immensely heightened. Charles Baudelaire. 3 a.m. You know these moments. When the world grows so quiet, you can hear your own choices breathing. When every tick of the clock feels like a door closing somewhere in the universe. Baudelaire knew something about these moments. These strange hours when time isn't just passing, but deepening. When each second stretches into infinity, pregnant with possibility. Last night, I found myself staring at a message on my phone from someone I haven't spoken to in 5 years. Are you still up? 3 simple words that cracked something open in my chest, because the last time I saw them, we were standing in an airport, making promises we both knew we couldn't keep. And now here they were, at 3 a.m. Their message glowing in the dark like a door I thought I'd closed forever. My finger hovered over the reply button, heart racing, because I know how these late-night messages can change everything. 3 years ago, I answered one just like it, ended up on a plane to Tokyo 2 days later. Left a whole life behind because of 3 words glowing in the dark. And suddenly I could feel it, that vertigo of awareness Baudelaire wrote about. That terrible clarity when you realize every choice, even answering a late-night text, could be the one that changes everything. Here's what they don't tell you about choices. It's not the big ones that keep you awake at night. Not the job offers, the marriage proposals, the life or death moments. It's the small ones. The ones that seemed like nothing at the time. The party you almost didn't go to where you met the person who changed everything. The train you missed that made you read the book that shifted your entire worldview. The random Tuesday you decided to take a different route home and glimpsed a life you could never unsee. You know what's strange about these moments? We only recognize them in reverse, looking back through the wreckage or the wonder they created. But right now, in this moment, you might be standing in one. Reading these words might be the choice that changes everything. Baudelaire understood this, the poet of twilight and transformation. He knew that existence doesn't just flow, it deepens, each moment opening into chasms of possibility. We pretend we can tell the difference between the choices that matter and the ones that don't. Between the moments that will echo through our lives and the ones that will fade by morning. But what if we can't? What if every moment, every single choice, carries the same impossible weight? Think about it. Right now, someone somewhere is making the choice that will change their life forever, and they don't even know it. That person might be you. I'm Alexander Gray, and tonight, we need to talk about the choices that haunt us, and the ones that are still waiting to be made. Welcome to Vertigo. Because in these deeper moments of existence, Baudelaire wrote about, when time stops being a river and becomes an ocean, we might finally understand we're all just one choice away from becoming someone else entirely. Between 2 thoughts there exists a thought. Between 2 beats there exists a beat. Between 2 moments lives a moment that cannot be counted. Have you ever noticed how memories don't flow like time should? Some moments stretch into infinity, others collapse into nothing. A decade can pass in a blur, but a single second, a single choice, can feel endless. The poets knew this strange elasticity of time. How a glance across a crowded room can contain entire lifetimes of possibility. How the space between yes and no can become an eternity. The other day I found an old photo. Nothing special. Just a random Tuesday from years ago. But there I was, caught in the moment right before everything changed. And I didn't even know it yet. Strange, isn't it? How we're always standing in these moments, these invisible crossroads, but we can only see them looking back. Time is not a line, Octavia Butler wrote. Time is a landscape we move through. Some moments rise like mountains, others sink like valleys. But which is which? We never know until we've passed them. Think about the last time you checked your phone, scrolled past a message, ignored a call. In how many parallel universes did that simple choice spiral into something magnificent? or terrible. We pretend we can tell the difference between the moments that matter and those that don't, the choices that will echo and the ones that will fade. But here's what keeps me up at night. What if there is no difference? What if every moment, every single one, carries the same impossible weight of becoming? You remember that scene in Donnie Darko, when he sees the time paths emerging from people's chests? Liquid arrows showing where each choice might lead. Sometimes, late at night, I think I can see them too. Not with my eyes, but with something deeper. That part of consciousness that Rumi wrote about. The space between thoughts. Between heartbeats. Between choices. Because that's where it happens, isn't it? Not in the big moments, not in the obvious crossroads, but in the spaces between. The moments we almost miss. A friend told me recently, I met the love of my life because I took the wrong train. Another, I found my calling because I clicked the wrong link at 3 a.m. Listen, can you hear it? The depth in this moment, now. Baudelaire wasn't just being poetic when he wrote about deeper moments of existence. He was trying to warn us, or maybe wake us up, because in this breath, in this pause, you might be standing in one of those moments. And the terrifying part isn't that you might choose wrong. It's that you might not choose at all. But to understand why, we need to talk about the vertigo that comes with seeing all these possibilities at once. I saw my life branching out before me like the green fig tree in the story. From the tip of every branch, like a fat purple fig, a wonderful future beckoned and winked. But choosing one meant losing all the rest. Kierkegaard called it the dizziness of freedom. That moment when you stand at the edge of possibility, when you realize that every choice you make kills all other versions of what could be. Open your browser right now. How many tabs do you have open? Each one a possibility, each one a life unlived, each one whispering, what if? We've become tragic gods of infinite windows, infinite scrolls, infinite choices, never choosing, never closing, never committing. Because to choose one is to kill all the others. I can't go on, I'll go on, Beckett wrote. But what he didn't tell us was how many times a day we'd have to make that choice. How many times we'd have to kill our possible selves just to take a single step forward. The Greeks had Orpheus, looking back and losing everything. We have Instagram, looking at everyone else's lives, everyone else's choices, everyone else's paths not taken. You know what's funny? We think having more choices makes us more free, more tabs, more options, more possibilities. But have you ever typed a message and just stared at it? Fingers hovering over send, reading it again, rewriting it, deleting it, rewriting it again. Not because you don't know what to say, but because once you send it, everything shifts. And so you wait. You let the moment pass. You let the version of you who almost sent it slip into oblivion. And later, you tell yourself it didn't matter, that nothing would have changed. But deep down, you know better. That was a door, and you didn't walk through it. Sylvia Plath saw it, that fig tree of infinite possibility. Each fig a life we could live, a person we could become. But while we stand there, mesmerized by all the choices, all the figs are quietly rotting. Think about the last big choice you made. No, go smaller. Think about the last small choice you made. Did you feel it? That subtle vertigo, that almost invisible nausea. That's not weakness and that's not indecision. That's your consciousness touching infinity. Because here's what they don't tell you about choices. It's not about right or wrong. It's about the fact that every choice, every single one, is an act of creation and destruction. When you choose coffee over tea, you're not just choosing a drink, you're choosing an entire universe and destroying another. When you choose to read these words, to keep listening, you're choosing this version of yourself and killing countless others. What we call the beginning is often the end, Eliot wrote. But what if every moment is both? Every choice both a funeral and a birth? every decision both a murder and a creation. The vertigo you feel, standing at the edge of each choice. It's not fear of choosing wrong. It's the weight of being a god, of having to create and destroy worlds, with every breath, with every choice. But if every choice is an act of creation, why do some echoes seem to reach us? Not from our past, but from our future. I am the wound and the knife. I am the slap in the cheek. I am the limbs and the wheel. I am both victim and executioner. Strange how Baudelaire understood something about choices that science is only now beginning to grasp. How the person making the choice and the person living with it are both you, and somehow not you at all. You know that feeling. When you're about to do something small, insignificant even, but something inside you hesitates, as if someone else, some future version of you, is trying to reach back through time, to stop you, or push you forward. We like to think time flows one way, past to future, cause to effect, choice to consequence. But then why do some moments feel haunted, not by what has been, but by what might be? The quantum physicists talk about entanglement, how two particles can affect each other across any distance, any time. But what if it's not just particles? What if our choices, our moments, our possible selves, are all entangled? Stop reading for a moment. Right now. Take out your phone. Look at the last 5 messages you ignored. The last 3 calls you didn't answer. The last invite you left on, maybe. Each one a door you didn't open. Each one a universe you didn't step into. Each one still hanging there, still waiting. Now tell me, can you feel them? Those other lives, those other yous, breathing just on the other side of each choice? Don't look away. Don't scroll past. Stay with that vertigo. Stay with that discomfort. Because that feeling, that's not anxiety. That's not indecision. That's your future selves, all of them, trying to get your attention. Last week, I almost messaged someone from my past, 3 a.m., phone in hand, draft written, but something stopped me. Not memory, not reason, but something else. Like a shadow cast backwards through time, as if my future self was whispering, not this path, not this time. Nietzsche wrote about the eternal return. The idea that we might have to live every moment of our lives again and again. Forever. But what if it's not about repetition? What if it's about resonance? Like ripples in a pond, moving not just forward, but somehow backward, sideways, through dimensions we can't even name. You know that feeling when you save a game before making a big choice? That comforting illusion that you can always go back, try another path, choose differently. But life doesn't have save points. Each choice writes itself in stone. Each moment burns itself into reality. Each decision echoes not just into our future, but somehow, impossibly, back into our present. Think about it. At this very moment, some future version of you is looking back at this moment. What are they trying to tell you? What do they wish you'd known? What do they wish you'd chosen? Because that's the real terror, isn't it? Not that we're making choices, but that we're both sides of every choice. Both the chooser and the chosen. Both the wound and the knife. Right now, in this moment, you're both the person making a choice, and the person who will have to live with it. Both victim and executioner, both the slap in the cheek, both the present and the future, dancing in an impossible now. But if we're both sides of every choice, if we're both the creator and the created, then maybe it's time we talked about the terrible freedom this gives us. All the art of living lies in a fine mingling of letting go and holding on. You know what's strange about freedom? We spend our whole lives crying out for it, fighting for it, dreaming of it. But when it finally comes, when we stand face to face with the vastness of our own freedom, something in us recoils. Sartre understood this when he said we're condemned to be free, not blessed with freedom. not gifted with freedom, condemned to it. Have you ever stood in a perfectly empty room? No furniture, no pictures, nothing but space and possibility. There's something terrifying about it, isn't it? All that freedom, all that potential, all that responsibility, because that's what freedom really is. Not the absence of constraints, but the presence of responsibility. Every choice, every single one, is an act of self-creation. The other night I couldn't sleep, thinking about all the times I blamed circumstances, other people, bad luck. But in that darkness, in that terrible clarity that sometimes comes at 3 a.m., I realized something. Even in our most constrained moments, even in our darkest prisons, we're still choosing. You remember that moment in The Matrix when Neo sees the code for what it is? Sometimes late at night, I think I can see the code of choice that runs through everything. Not just the big choices, not just the life-changing ones, but every breath, every glance, every subtle shift of attention. Because here's what they don't tell you about freedom. It's not about having options. It's about being the author of every single moment, of every single breath. Right now, you're choosing to keep reading these words. You're choosing to let them in. You're choosing who you're becoming with every single breath. Kafka wrote about a man who woke up one morning to find himself transformed. But what if we're all transforming, all the time, with every choice, with every breath? And here's where it gets really terrifying. There's no one else to blame, no one else to credit, no one else to bear the weight of this constant, endless creation of self. You are the author. You are the story. You are the blank page and the words being written. But if this freedom is so terrible, if this responsibility is so vast, then perhaps we need to talk about the beauty hidden in this terror, the strange grace of falling through infinite space and learning, somehow, to dance. Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. You know what's strange about cracks? About breaks in time? About moments when everything changes? They don't just break things apart. Sometimes they let the light in. We spend so much time trying to make perfect choices, running scenarios, calculating odds, as if life were some kind of mathematical equation we could solve. But what if the beauty isn't in choosing perfectly? What if it's in choosing at all? Think about it. Every great love story began with someone taking a risk. Every great adventure started with someone stepping into the unknown. Every moment of real change came from someone choosing without knowing. The other day I found an old journal, full of careful plans, calculated decisions, perfect strategies. And you know what made me laugh? None of the best things in my life came from those plans. They came from the cracks, the mistakes, the moments when I chose blindly, when I jumped without seeing the bottom. Nietzsche wrote about amor fati, the love of fate. But maybe he was really writing about something else, the love of uncertainty, the embrace of not knowing. Because here's what I'm starting to understand. The real courage isn't in making the right choice. It's in making a choice at all. In the face of infinite possibility, in the shadow of infinite loss. That scene in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, when they choose to try again, knowing it might end the same way, knowing it might break them again. That's not just a love story, that's every choice we ever make. Close your eyes for a moment. Do it, I mean it. Close them. Think of the last time you were about to take a risk. Feel it in your body, that tightness in your chest, that electricity in your fingertips, that nausea in your stomach. Now, without opening your eyes, ask yourself, what stopped you? What made you pull back? What comfortable lie did you tell yourself? Keep your eyes closed. Stay with that feeling. Because right now, in this darkness, you're facing it again. That same choice, that same risk. that same possibility. What will you do differently this time? We're all standing at the edge of something infinite, all the time, every moment, every breath, and we can either be paralyzed by that vastness, or we can learn to dance with it, because maybe that's what Baudelaire really saw, in those deeper moments of existence, not just the weight of choice, not just the terror of freedom, but the strange beauty of falling, the wild grace of choosing. Even when we can't see where the choice leads, maybe the real risk isn't in choosing wrong, it's in forgetting that we can choose at all. And in this moment, as these words fade, you're standing in one of those cracks, one of those breaks in time, where the light gets in. What will you choose? What we call the beginning is often the end, and to make an end is to make a beginning. The end is where we start from. Strange how we've come full circle. Back to Baudelaire's deeper moments. Back to that space where time opens up, where choices breathe. We started tonight talking about how everything could change with a single choice. But maybe we were looking at it wrong. Maybe it's not about waiting for the big moment, the dramatic choice, the obvious crossroad. Maybe it's about understanding that every moment, every single breath, is one of those deeper moments Baudelaire wrote about. Last night I stood at my window, watching the city lights flicker like stars. Each one a choice being made, each one a life changing, each one a universe splitting into infinite possibilities. And for a moment, I could feel it all. The weight of every choice, the beauty of every possibility, the terror and the grace of being alive. In a world where everything could change, at any moment. You know what's beautiful about this? We're not just making choices, we're making ourselves. With every decision, every breath, every moment of yes or no, and right now. As these words fade into silence, as this moment deepens into the next, you're standing in one of those infinite spaces where time opens up, where possibility breathes, where everything could change. Remember what Baudelaire saw in those deeper moments of existence. It wasn't just the weight of choice. It wasn't just the vertigo of freedom. It was the strange miracle of being alive, in a world where every moment could be the one that changes everything. So let me ask you one last time, what will you choose? I'm Alexander Gray, and this has been Vertigo,